Listen, got a lot of respect for that Penn State team and their talent, coaching, the team that they're going to have this year, the start that they've gotten off to. We talked about it the other day. Really one game in which that they lost, which they were up by 18. Their toughness, their togetherness. Obviously, Stevens getting in foul trouble really helped us. He's one of the toughest matchups in the country. But as I've said a number of times, players win games, and I thought we just had some incredible performances today that made it really difficult for them to guard us, and we were able to kind of always keep them at a distance. So we'll move forward and hopefully have a good week of finals and preparation, and sit back and watch a little football here this afternoon.
It was like a 8-point game, I think, about 12 minutes ago, and then you guys scored 43 points the rest of the way. What did you see change in those last 12, 13 minutes where you turned a game that was single digits into a rout like that?
I thought really our ability to make threes when they were making threes, and always kind of keep it between 8 to 11 to 12 to 13, and then when you're answering with a three with every three, and Caleb's playing that stretch. I think he either assisted or made some threes. I thought he looked like who he is today, and that is one of the best players in the country and one of the hardest matchups.
Chris, the first 2 years ago, the meetings between Caleb and Michael Watkins did not look like this. In fact, Caleb really looked a little physically intimidated. Not anymore. Is this maturity? Is this his weight loss? Is this working on his game or what?
Yeah, he wouldn't say Watkins is a tremendous player, really talented, ability to block shots, and he's playing, I think, as well as he's ever played. I don't think Caleb would say he was physically intimidated. I think it was just an adjustment as he was a young guy playing against a big body like that. I think it's all a credit to Caleb. He continues to round his game and add to his game. And, I get asked a ton of questions. How many threes are you going to let him shoot, coach? And, what are you, why are you, he's pretty good at shooting the ball. And he's a mismatch when he can do it as effectively as he was. So that's a big part of his game that he's added. And then I thought defensively he was able to defend Watkins some one-on-one, which was a factor. Because you're right, Watkins is a really good player.
Chris, you scored 106, but at the same time, Penn State rarely got any clean looks in the first half, other than toward the end. They didn't get anything in the paint. Could you just talk about your defensive effort today?
Yeah, as I've said, I think our individual defenders are good. We've got good individual defenders, and I think we've embraced playing together as a team on the defensive end. C.J. Walker's a good individual defender. Luther's a good individual defender. Andre, Caleb in the post, Kyle at times. I'm not quite there yet with Dwayne, and he knows that. But he's getting there. So that helps when you have guys and collectively they bought in.
Over here, Coach. Coming to this game, you guys were hot off a big-time victory in Chapel Hill. How do you guys keep your players? How do you, particularly, and your coaching staff, keep your players grounded after a victory like that? Coming into, no disrespect, let's just call it what it is, a lesser opponent.
Well, listen, I'll be honest with you. I don't know that I'd agree with that. I think Penn State, to be real honest with you, and I think we made our guys aware of that. I think the marquee and the name was different, but Penn State was playing as well as any team we played all year. With all due respect, they were playing as well as any team we played all year. We had the utmost respect for them, and they beat us 3 times in the last 2 years. So I think that probably helped with the alert and urgency of our guys. I think they're a bona fide NCAA tournament team, and I think the challenge for us was to turn the page quickly from North Carolina, and that requires maturity. Listen, when winning matters and really, really matters to you, you tend to block out some of the noise and some of the distractions. If winning becomes less important, then we'll see it and our consistency in our play. Right now, winning's pretty important. We'll see how long that remains the case.
You know, the rules are a little bit different around here for a basketball team than a football team when you're in the top 5, and there are benefits to that and there are drawbacks to that. I just wonder, you're going to be in the top 5 now, and you've beaten 3 really good teams and made 3 really good teams look really bad. Do you need to manage expectations? Do you want to manage expectations? Do you feel like anybody's noticing here? Because you came in and you're saying, I'm go home and watch the game tonight.
Yeah. No, I am going to go home and watch the game. I can't wait to watch it. I'm really excited about it. I think, Bruce, when you sign up here, in my position, right, you realize that's the position you're in, and I'm completely comfortable with that. I hope over time people appreciate, I know they have, how we play, who our kids are, the way we go about it. Listen, we've had a really special start. I'm not trying to diminish winning 9 games and some of our performances. I just think it's a long season, and we're going to run into some issues. It was a tie game with 8 minutes to go versus Penn State 2 weeks ago. So I think what we've got to just stay as grounded as possible. We've got really good players who are in a good place right now. And I think they also appreciate the fact that there's other programs, in particular football here, that's on the path towards hopefully achieving something special, and we're behind them in that effort.
But I wonder, it's never not appropriate for that program to talk about what the ultimate target is.
Yeah.
And you have a very young team, but I know that's your ultimate target. How do you manage, like, when people would look at where you are and what you've done and go, why would you guys not think about that this year? Is your team mature enough to handle that? Do you feel like that's not something that's useful to you to talk about now, or if you're what has to happen before you get to that point?
I don't know yet if we're mature enough to handle all of that. I think we've got outstanding leadership, but I think it remains to be seen if we are. And that's where winning comes into play, and staying committed to getting better on a day-to-day basis. And I think our older guys understand that well. Collectively, do we understand that as well? And I just think, as I said maybe a couple weeks ago here, people who follow college basketball know that there are a ton of ebbs and flow in most seasons. And we're going to go through some rough patches. And that'll really determine who we are as a group and how we handle that. We're in a really good place right now. We played pretty well, really well in stretches. But for us, it's all about, can we stay on the path towards growth? And then whatever happens, happens. In terms of people talking about our program, as I said, you work every day in this job with the idea that you're building towards hopefully people talking about your program and your team and having optimism about what you can be. I'm not building for something else. What that looks like, who knows, but that's what we are working every day as a staff towards. And, if that comes, pressure or whatever, then we'll try to manage it in the moment.
Coach, media analysis of the team often centers on, you need to get Caleb scoring down in the post. Obviously, that was going out today, and it was great. But I'm just wondering, Andre gave you some settle down baskets around the basket. He got involved in that 3-point barrage in the second half, and maybe, but I think he had a couple of post-ups, a reverse layup, another basket he scored. Just what does that do for your offense when he's doing that type of thing?
He's pretty good down there, especially if we feel like there is somewhat of a mismatch. He's like his brother, he's physical. So we wanted to try to, you're right, he did settle us down on a number of occasions. We kind of settled in, he gave us a basket when they cut it to 8 or 7. And I thought he was, obviously Caleb's performance was outstanding and CJ Walk, but I think his performance in those moments was really good.
Chris, today, again, we talk about the low post again, but not only that, but the offense ran through Caleb in the low post.
Yeah.
We've seen you run the offense through him on the high post.
Yeah.
Today there were pick and rolls, pick and pops, and
Yeah.
now the burst of threes, which if you watch the team, folks kind of know he's capable of doing something that the way he shoots. I'm kind of answering your question for you, but I'm curious as to how, what a luxury it is to have a player like that for all the different looks that.
Tremendous luxury. And what we know in college basketball right now is if you can, listen, we know how physical the game is in college basketball, particularly in the low post. So teams will trap him as they did last year. They will just be really physical. They'll throw big bodies. It's hard to consistently have effective offense if that's your only source of offense. What makes Caleb different and special, I believe, is his ability to play out on the perimeter, to play through him some as a passer, in the high post or outside the three, to pick and pop with him. And I just think that's his strength. That's who he is as a player. He's unique in that sense. And it's not always easy to play bully ball with some of the teams we play consistently. That's why we try to move him around, because of his talent.
And just to add, you don't see guys his size making skip passes 40 feet across the court.
Yeah, tremendous passer. That's why we try to play him in some of those situations. Tremendous passer. They went more one-on-one in the post today. He'll get trapped some, and you know what I told Caleb throughout the early part of the season is he was getting trapped almost in every game. There's going to be games where you're not going to get trapped as much, and there's going to be more opportunities for one-on-one.
Chris, you've gotten a lot of questions today about external expectations, media thoughts on your team. What did this week do for you internally in terms of either setting in stone your expectations for this team, raising them? Just what did this week do for you and your internal assessment of where you're at and where you're going?
You know, I think we're always learning. I think always learning. I'm just anxious to see us perform more against other competition and on the road, Lori. I just, I think that, we played these last two games, and the thing we did today is we were able to get Stevens in foul trouble. That's a huge difference for their team. I think that, I think there's a level of perspective that's required in all this as a coach and as a team, and that's what we're trying to do.
Coach, your team leads the country in scoring margin. I wonder, where do you learn? What do you look for when you're winning by so much? What can you take apart when the margin of victory has been by so much?
What do we look for?
Yeah, how do you learn from games like that?
Zeros across the board. That's what I look for. How quickly can we get zeros across the board? I just think I think we've had some unique situations. Carolina, he played, I think, 5 walk-ons in that game, I think, to send his other guys a message. And we were able to extend that thing at that point. So I don't know if I make too much of the scoring margin. Like I said, the Kent game was a tie game with 9 minutes to go. We ended up winning by 19, but closer than most people thought.
What was, I know you didn't have a lot of time between the games. You've talked about not overlooking things and relying on seniors to handle this the right way. What were the last few days like in practice as far as trying to see what you hope to see from your guys coming off a big win?
Really quick, we normally clean up and spend about 45 minutes cleaning up the pre